Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. It's Real Women, Real Talk Friday. And of course, my co-contributors, Lisa Campo, a strong woman, and Lamia Solomon, a stronger woman that has moved to Oklahoma, that has graced us in Central Louisiana with her presence. Ladies, good morning and welcome back.
Good morning.
All right, let me jump over you, Lisa, to jump to the woman who fled Alexandria, Central Louisiana, and went back home.
Oh, yes. Back home.
What was it
I gotta
like?
love Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
It is different. I can tell you, I miss my Louisiana family.
Mm-hmm.
I have evolved from things of Oklahoma City and then came back to it to know that, hey.
So let's talk
it's
about
different.
the evolution.
Evolution.
So you were a different girl.
Definitely.
Young woman when you were at home the first time.
Correct.
In Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma. So I spent my elementary to teenager years in Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in California, moved to Oklahoma City, and spent most
But
of
you
my
were a
time.
hellraiser in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I was, yep. I admit to that. I was a terrible teenager.
And so when you
I
go
can say.
back, people don't, how did they receive you? What was the reception like?
Well, and I always say this, and this is not a bragging moment. This is kind of a shameful moment as well.
Humbling.
It's a humbling moment
Mhm.
because of the fact that when I was in Oklahoma City, and my family being from California, and I was involved in gang related activities during that time, and that of course I wasn't proud of it. However, now that I've come back home, it's like, oh, that's that same person. We still give her the same respect,
Mm-hmm.
but I've evolved, and so it is different
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not looking for that respect. I want the respect of who I am now,
Mm-hmm.
not of who I was then
Mhm.
or whose relative I am. I'm a different person. So please don't judge me for my actions from before the age of 19
Right.
to where I am now at 45.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm approached with different things, I have to say, oh, thank you. But, I'm a little different now,
Mhm.
and that's not what I'm looking to be a part of.
Wow. That's interesting because I never really thought about going back to a place and having to prove yourself as being different before. And so that's an interesting take.
And it's hard too because you find yourself when you hang around, it's almost like when you go back home towards family, maybe you were in a different state, but when you go back home, you start sounding like you back home originally.
Mhm.
So, and it's kind of like, well, I haven't lived here in 30 years, but when you get back around your family, you start acting like your family. And the first month or so, I found myself getting not back involved in it, but just speaking to my friends and just kind of saying, oh, wait a minute, I'm starting to find myself going back to the conversations and reminiscing. Yes, it's okay to reminisce,
Mhm.
but it's not okay to be pulled back
Don't
in.
be a chameleon.
Right.
Exactly.
Don't be a chameleon.
So and what I had to do, and which was really hard for me, is to say, hey, that's who I was. That's not who I am. I've changed, and either you got to respect that change and go with it
Mhm.
or not. And that means that I can't affiliate myself with you if you can't respect who I am now.
Absolutely.
And I don't think it's that you have to prove. It's just they see that this is you. And they have to learn who's in here now and not who's on the outside, because you're still the same person on the outside. Your eyes, you're still the same person, but they've got to come to know, and you're not having to prove, but you're having to show credibility and growth and evolution
Mhm.
versus you still look like the same girl,
Mhm.
but you're not.
Well, I didn't look like the same girl. I was
You know
a
what I mean.
tomboy then.
Mhm.
No,
I didn't change,
you
no.
know what I mean.
Right.
You
Mhm.
sound the same, you look the same, but you're not the same because you've
Mentally.
evolved. And
Mhm.
my God, who of us want to be who we were between 7 and 19 until the day we die? All of us have evolved from somewhere between
Absolutely.
7 and 19.
Exactly.
Mhm.
The
Exactly.
people who peaked at between 17 and 19,
They
They're
look horrible
serving
now.
cheeseburgers, people. I mean, not to knock a person serving a cheeseburger. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, it's like the quarterback who never outlived the Friday
dream.
night lights.
Right. Never evolved.
Yeah,
beyond
he's
high
still
school.
wearing his
Right.
Letterman jacket, and he's 63.
And
going,
he's still
y'all
sleeping
remember
in his mama's house.
in his
own
mama's
room.
house, talking
Right.
about 1979.
Mhm.
What?
Yeah,
Well, so speaking of
2019.
this conversation, I want to talk about evolving, as you were talking about evolving, and as we're getting older. I'm reading a book now that's talking about aging joyfully. And I wondered, as I've been reading this book, about us and about each other and how you are embracing aging.
Oh, wow.
How are you embracing it, Lisa?
Okay.
With a lot of anti-aging products.
That come from Timeless Med Spa.
Timeless Med Spa. Right here.
Yeah, I'm there with you.
Okay.
But I'm talking about internally. Because
you know,
externally we're using all the creams and all the
yeah, I'm either far one way or far the other, and I'm not gonna say the left and the right because right now we're in political. You know, I don't want to be political.
Right.
But I definitely can say that as I'm evolving, that my spiritual battle feels more intense.
Mm.
Because before I was a pushover for the enemy. I mean, I was like his easy puppet in the street. And now that I feel like I've grown so much spiritually, still have a long way to go, but it takes bigger boulders that knock me down. And so it becomes a more humbling situation where you're like, whoa, that really just set me back. But evolving. My spiritual growth has never been at a higher rate than it is now.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I've got these high highs. But dude, I can find some low lows.
Really?
If I let that
enemy.
not if I let. When the negative monkey chatter catches me,
Mm-hmm.
it can be still the lowest of lows. The oldest baggage can still smell fresh. The enemy can still find ways to stick his finger in my wounds. And that is something that I've learned to say, okay, even in this,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to find praise for it. Even
I
in
love
this.
that. Mhm.
Because if Jesus Christ walked this earth and he was betrayed,
Mm-hmm.
how do I expect for me to walk this earth and not be betrayed? By my parent, by my sibling, by my friends. I am a blessed woman
Mm-hmm.
for the man that God put in my life. I have had a very blessed marriage. Not perfect, but blessed.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to see it in that light is a blessing in itself. But I have in my aging, the only way I could manage my wounds, my baggage, my shortcomings was to just give it more and more and more to God, make more and more time for him. Otherwise, I'm the struggle bus. I'm a hot mess moving south. I mean, there's no other way for me to manage what I endure.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not, I mean, there are worse circumstances than me. There are more, my life is good.
Mm-hmm.
But even in a good life, there are insecurities and there is negative chatter and there is just flesh that is weak to whatever it is that you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's there in different shapes and sizes and
That's
shades
right.
and
That's
colors. It is there. And so in my evolution and managing it all, I use a lot of anti-aging cream and a lot of Jesus time.
Hold that thought. It's Real Women, Real Talk. Lisa Campo, Lamia Solomon. Stay on point. We're back with more right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. It's Real Women, Real Talk Friday, and it doesn't get any more real than this. And if you don't believe me, well, Lamia's got some real footage on Facebook Live. Lisa Campo, Lamia Solomon. We're talking this morning about aging, and I am going to have a birthday this month, and I'm going to be 52. And I'm reading this book that's talking about aging gracefully. And I was just wondering where we really are on the spectrum of aging and what are we feeling like and seeing the changes. You know, when you look back at your pictures from just 2 years ago or 3 years ago and you see how youthful you just see the evolution of yourself. How are you
Right.
dealing with aging?
You know, actually, I don't mind aging. I feel like I'm aging well. And I think us on this panel are aging well. Because if you look at people that may have been through whatever, or other people, or your classmates, and different things like that, I mean, I think you look wonderful at 52. And I think if we would have looked at 52 years ago,
What we'll call our mothers.
what we
52.
would call our mothers 52.
How different are we?
How different are we? I think we age younger. I think the 52 is the new 35, maybe, because we age
How old are
gracefully.
you?
I'm 45.
And I'm 32.
Real women, real talk.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm grateful. You know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be, like I said, I'm gonna be 52. You know, God willing, in a few days, and I look at aging. I do look at my body and the changes that I'm seeing, but I also have found that as I've gotten older, I've gotten more spiritually connected, and so I have more gratitude for being here to age.
Right.
So instead of looking at the exterior, I'm looking at, you know, I've got, you know, these years behind, and I don't know how many more ahead. I'm believing God for long life, but I want to live my life more intentional now more than ever before.
And you know what? I can agree with that, because as I look at my history, so many times I think, why is he keeping me here? Because I should have been dead a long time ago. You know, and every time it was like he put a personal hand on me and said, not today, Mia, not today. I'm pulling you out of this situation.
Mercy said no.
Mercy said no. So I mean, from the life I led, the multiple times I, you know, encountered, and then after I made it through that, I go into the military, I make it through that, then I flip off a bridge.
Oh, wow.
I made it through that. It's like, it was multiple times. He kept
Does that
saying,
draw you closer to him, though?
and the thing is, I'm intimate. And even though, like, I say all the crazy things I say, I have an intimate relationship with him, because I talk to him.
I don't doubt it.
I talk to him every day like he my best friend.
So you
Bishop,
just,
that's
give me a
Yes.
hard time about it.
I give you a hard time. But the thing is, every morning when I get up, I got to talk to him, because guess what? I know I'm not supposed to be here, but I've been waiting for you to show me. Or am I ignoring it? Or am I doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I supposed to be keeping it real? Am I supposed to be making sure that I talk to the youth? Am I supposed to be helping business owners, entrepreneurs, everything that I'm doing? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And this is why you keeping me around, because I feel knowledge is free and people need help.
And this is what I think our common thread is, because although our childhoods are very, very different, and I totally respect that.
They're not really
But-
that
well,
much different.
They are and they're not. It's just,
The
it's a
paths
degree.
we
It's
got
a degree of, but we have the same personalities. God blessed us with the courage and a voice of courage to speak the truth and to speak the real, where a lot of people don't have that ability to have that leap of faith to say, I'm going to use my voice because I know God gave me this. I think we've had losses along the way, and hearing what you're saying right now, I have what I would call survivor's guilt, where I stop and I say, I'm so grateful, but my God, how did you pick me?
Right.
And so we are opposites, but we're so much alike when it comes to that. And I think that's what our attraction is, and what makes us have the energy that we do when we come together, is that we have the blessed voice, that we feel the energy and the desire to share with people and to be real and be transparent. And although our struggles have been different, they're still very much alike because of the outcome.
That's right.
Because of the result of what the impact was different, the root was different, but the result
Results
was
are
the
the
same.
same.
Where that drive and that thrive to really, share and be open to say, look, I know you're going through this. I had some of that too, but get yourself up, put some clean underwear on. Let's get put some clean underwear on, and let's go.
That's what I do.
Well, in addition to aging joyfully, with this month being, of course, October and Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I think it's critically important as we get older and our risk factors for different things begin to change. I think that we really have to, we're all busy. We're all got a million things that we're juggling. But are we taking enough time to know what's normal in our bodies and our breasts so that we can know what's abnormal? Are you taking time? Are you taking time?
I've been
Am I
guilty.
taking time?
I've been I've canceled multiple times, and I'm ashamed to say it, but I'm keeping
your
it real.
mammogram?
Yeah,
Mhm.
because life got busy, and I'm gonna be honest too on this. And the people in the mammogram departments, if you're listening, I would appreciate for the short girls in the room hanging by a dangled toe, one toe on the floor, and the sister in a
They
hook.
bring the machine down. I'm short too.
Yeah.
They
Okay,
bring it
the
down.
last person that did me a couple of years ago did not get it low enough, and I am telling you, I hung from the tightest skin. I thought I was going to it was coming off my chest. I just thought, we're not going to have them removed. They're just going to be ripped off. And I mean, I dangled by a toe, and I look.
Well, is that the reason why you have?
It's why I haven't gone back. It was the
Are you
most painful
serious?
thing.
Really?
I hurt for days after because they said the machine wouldn't go any lower. Y'all, I'm very short legged. I have a longer torso than I have legs. And they couldn't get the machine any lower. When I tell you I dangled by that one toe and one tit in that clamp, I thought I was going to pass out. But
Did you say, okay, time out?
I was
Let's
like, okay.
reposition.
And, they got to go deep. They got to
gotta
get
go.
all the way back to
Yeah.
the chest to see everything. And I'm a real dense girl up there. And I saw stars. I saw baby Jesus. He talked to me and everything. He said, thank God I gave you one big fat toe to hang on to right now. And I had that toe on the floor, and it was all I could do to get through it. And it's why I haven't been back.
That toe is on the floor. What about you, Lamia? Have you been
Yes.
taking care of your breast
Girls.
health?
Yes, I've been taking care of my girls. Actually, and the only reason is because I had this one doctor, and every time I go in, I don't care whatever I went in for, she'll be like, don't you want me to schedule you your mammogram? Don't you want me to schedule? And she kept doing it to the point that it didn't matter what I went in for. She forgot about that. She needed me to get that mammogram done. So I go in there because my knees are bad or whatever.
She
I'll
was-
be on them.
We're gonna get a break on that note. Stay on point for more Real Women, Real Talk right after this.
You wrong.
Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. It's Real Women, Real Talk Friday, and you can tell, I don't know if you can tell or not, but it has been a minute since we have come together, and there is never a dull moment.
Never.
And so I really, really want to impress upon women that have their schedules and their lists that are from top to bottom packed.
All right.
And so in this book, Aging Joyfully, it tells you about all of the checks that you need to have as women and taking care of yourself. And so I made a decision. This is the third time, and Lisa confirmed it today, that I believe that the Spirit is saying to me that we need to that I need to begin to journal. And I used to journal all the time, and I've stopped. But today is a new day. Tell me about your journaling.
It's been healing. It's been rewarding. It's been hard. It's been humbling because you think things in your head, and then to put them on paper makes them real and
I know.
justified.
And you almost don't want to put them there because you might not even want anybody else to see them.
Well, and it's not even that, is to go back and read it yourself. And then there have been joyful things that have happened that I've gotten up right away and I've written it down, and the world happens around you so quickly that when I was sharing my journal yesterday with a very dear friend of mine, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot that this happened. And it was so awesome to read it again. And it was like I relived the entire moment. And on September 3rd of this year, I woke up in just a cold sweat covered in chills. And I sat there in my
Was
bed.
that menopause?
No. I sat there in my bed, and I can remember being asleep and feeling cold and sweaty with chills. And and the dream woke me. And I sat there, and have you ever woke from a dream and you didn't want to move? You didn't want to move out of the moment of the dream that you were still very clearly seeing. And I remember looking down at my chest and my stomach and putting my hands where they had been in my dream. And in my dream, I was in a dim lit room that lightened up around me very quickly. And I was like looking up, like, where's that light coming from? And I remember looking down, and I was glowing in my chest, like sunlight glowing. And I remember putting my hands down to touch myself. I wanted to feel what it felt like, and I could see the light coming through my fingers. And it was insane.
Were you on Eclipse?
as
Were you on the
Well,
eclipse?
no, as I'm like went to touch myself, just chills in my dream, sweat and chills covered me from head to toe
In the dream.
in the dream. But I woke up in the same temperature, chills and sweat.
Do you think you were having an out of body experience in the dream?
The voice that the statement that I heard, there was no one standing around me, and the statement that I heard in a male voice was, "The Holy Spirit is in you."
Wow.
And I ran and I wrote it down right here. And it is the most bizarre thing I have ever had. I've never dreamt like that. I have dreamt of my deceased loved ones. I have never dreamt.
Did you write it down that night?
I
Or
got
whenever
up
you
that
woke
morning.
that
That I got off the bed and I'm like, holy Lord.
So the voice was in your dream.
The voice was in my dream, and when I woke up, I was sitting there going, "What just happened?" And I remembered my dream immediately, and heard, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's what I heard in this dream." And y'all, I have never. So when I say about aging gracefully, when we talk about this in this evolution, I think what pushed me over my edge to turn more spiritual is as a parent, you have so much control over your child, their sadness, their happiness, their activities, their play dates, their, do your homework, eat your dinner, take your bath. When your children become adult children, if you ain't found Jesus yet, you're going to find them when them kids become adults. You have
They're gonna keep
lost
you on your knees.
control.
Well, I have a question in regards to that.
You have lost control that you should have never had.
In the
And
first
you
place.
have to give it back to Christ.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Go ahead.
That was my nail.
That was your revelation.
in that cross.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so the question I have to that, because there's a lot of people that say, okay, they hear voices and God speaks to them and okay, I'm gonna keep it real. I never heard none.
I had never either.
I've never heard anything. I've never heard a voice. I think internally, maybe, I might have had something in my head where I thought that. But when I woke up, I didn't hear no voices. I pray all the time. I don't hear God speaking to me. I read the Bible and I think that I interpret it. But when people say God came down and spoke to me, I haven't heard that. I don't know anything about it. But
let me just say
people
this.
say it,
Let
but
me
I
just
don't
say this
understand it.
because I do believe that I hear from God and that I hear the voice of God. And I think we have to really qualify what that means.
Yeah,
It's
that's what I don't understand.
It's not an
right.
audible voice.
No.
Okay.
Like I hear your
It's
voice.
your spirit.
It
that
is
what
your
you're saying?
spirit,
Okay.
man, connecting. Because, it is, you know what it really is
And I
for
agree
me?
with that spirit.
For me,
Mhm.
it's like that thing that says, don't go that way.
Yeah.
You're self-conscious.
Yeah.
But that's how the Holy Spirit speaks
right.
to you, and people don't know what to identify it, so they call it it. They call it something. They call it, my intuition.
My Jiminy Cricket.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I needed
That's
clarity
how
on.
it
Okay,
is.
so
I
for
gotta ask
me,
the question.
that's how it is.
You said,
Yeah.
I've never heard
Right.
God speak to me. And I said, no, me either, but I have to retract that.
Right.
Now that
Because
you said
Speak in
that.
an audible voice.
But when I went to my Acts retreat in June of 2016,
Mhm.
and my very first night there, and I was fearful to go to sleep because I was scared to death. I used to be very scared to stay by myself and sleep by myself and all these things, but that's evolved in the last 3 years.
Right.
But that's old baggage. Anyway, I fell asleep that first night, and I remember waking up from a sleep going, oh, y'all, I fell asleep. What am I singing? Am I singing? And I got up and found a little pad and a pen, and I wrote it down, and I wasn't singing. But what was in my mind was in my voice, not his voice. And I wrote it down,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not, I've Googled it, it's nowhere. It's not a lyric, it's nowhere. It's separate my soul, O Lord, from all things that separate me from you.
Right.
It
You
was,
told us that. Yeah.
it was
Mhm.
his, that was my mission. That was my homework. That has been my chore. And at first it was easy. I was like, I don't need these. These things separate me and distract me from the Lord. Well, then it became harder the further down the path that I got. And Some people have broken away from me, and that was his will. There are people that I love dearly, but I've had to break away from them because they keep me in such negative monkey chatter. It separates me from him. And so I have, in this evolution, it has got to be alignment. It has got to be Christ, my husband, my kids, and the career that provides for that family I've created in the name of the Lord. Anything else, you got to go.
There
If
you
you
go.
distract me
That's
from
how it
him,
is.
you distract me from my husband and my kids and taking care of them and providing for them, you got to go. And tithing with my church, you got to go. Those things have got to come as first priority. And that, I always believed in the Lord, but I never lived at his will. And
That makes a difference.
That makes a difference. Well, Lisa Campo, Lamia Solomon, doesn't get much more real than that. It's been Real Women, Real Talk. Stay with us. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. This is my final point on point today. Anytime we come together, there is laughter, so much fun, so therapeutic. I can't even tell you. During this journey and this conversation, I laughed so much until I hurt. My side hurt, my face hurt, everything hurt. You know, the word says that laughter does a merry heart good, like a medicine. And my hope is that every single person would have somebody out there that they could come together with and it feel like therapy, whether it's the laugh that you needed, you know, that laugh that you laugh so hard until you literally cry. Those are the kind of laughs that we have had today. But then there's truth and there's authenticity. And everybody can't be that and can't do that. It's really a journey. But I was first drawn to Lamia because of her truth. And when you meet somebody and you come into fellowship with somebody that can be so honest about themselves, what it does for me is it helps me to be honest about those things that I feel are shortcomings in my own life. And then when you put it out there into the universe, God gave me this word about shaming shame. You shame shame. In other words, you shame the devil with your truth. And that truth makes you and sets you free. And Lamia was able to do that. And Lisa was able to do that. And then I was able to do that on this journey of just saying, you know, this is our life. These are our shortcomings. These are the things that bring us pain. These are the things that bring us joy. These are the challenges that we're having with our kids. What did you do? How did you handle that? And so we just come together and we have a conversation and we just let the cameras voyeur in on our realness. But here's what I hope for every single person out there that has lived long enough to have a past, that we all understand that we don't have to be our past. That when you come out of insanity, whatever it is, and you become a new creation or a new creature, you are a new creature. And don't let anybody tell you that you are who you were. And what I love about all of us is we can own what we did and who we were. But what we understand is that that's not who we are today. That we're not perfect. None of us are. We're growing. We're evolving. We're changing. You know, the things that I did even a year ago, even 6 months ago, some of those things I don't want to do anymore. But it's not until you can be honest with yourself. And that's what I love about these conversations is they keep me honest. Because when you're talking to two people that just put it all out there, I'm going to tell you, we shared some things. You know how you have friendships and you think you know everything. And then, you know, at that moment, another person is just released to release that shame. I know it could be confusing. Released to release that shame that's holding them in bondage. And I can imagine that every one of us has some shame that we dare not share. And it's really keeping us from lifting into the universe the way that we should, because we're holding on to that. And we hope that these conversations will bring other people together in conversation, and we take the mask off. And we don't just take the mask off one time, we take the mask off all the time. And we say, this is who I am. Like me or not, this is who I am. I'm not perfect. I'm a work in progress, and I'm on the journey. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. We're all going to miss it. But guess what? That's what grace is built in for. It's new and fresh every morning. And I would say to every woman and every person out there, stop long enough. Stop the busyness, and I'm talking really to myself, to take care of yourself, to decrease stress, and to enjoy the journey. Because guess what? We only get one. And then we start to say, well, I'll enjoy it when. I'll enjoy it when this happens. I'll enjoy it when my business is at this stage. Then I'll enjoy it. You know, this morning I was just impressed in a conversation with my brother, and he said, you know, we have to enjoy the full journey, not just parts of it. Because see, the journey is what helps to build whatever it is that you're trying to do in your life. It's the journey. And some parts of the journey we don't like. We can't embrace because they're hard. But if we look at it in a different perspective and we look at it as preparation, as a building block, then we'll say, okay, it's just part of the process. See, we want the thing over here, but most of us don't want the process. And so today, I'm committed to enjoying the process and all that it brings. The highs, the lows, you know, the right here where nothing seems to be happening. Just feel grateful to be living, working, and walking in my passion with people that I care about and people that care about me. And that, my friends, is my final point. Stay with us. We're back to wrap up after this.